Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Levi's Selfridge and the Farm Show. The other day, I came down with shingles. It ain't fun. So anyhow, I can't sleep. I've been up for 3 or 4 hours now. And I've been thinking, which usually gets me in trouble, so let's keep up a good tradition. Just been thinking about like NCBA and KLA and how they're all against this 50-14 deal. And I'd sure like to know where the producers are that they claim to represent, using money they got from those producers to tell them they're wrong. If they're producers that like the 50% negotiated cash trade, 14 days to you come pick them up deal. I just don't see. It's just crazy. They tax our cattle, and they don't just tax them once. They tax them every time they're sold. So they tax the cowman. They tax the stalker. And when they're sold as a feeder, they're taxed again. So most cattle, a lot of cattle anyway, they get $3 a head for those, and probably some even more. So maybe the best way to get back at the NCBA as a cowman is to retain ownership all the way to and you sell them to the packer yourself, and they only get $1 a head then. So I don't know if that's the best way to go about it or not, but I bet you they'd come out and say it's not a good idea to retain ownership. But anyway, and then I think about mandatory country of origin labeling. I remember when that first came out, I thought, hey, sounds like a great idea. And then I learned about it and all these required EID tags and everything. And I got thinking about that, and that would have been a nightmare. And at least in my opinion, it would have been, and then it would have been not only would have been a chain of records, it would have been a chain of liability. And if there's a buck that can get passed, it will. And where's the last place the buck can go? Where that animal was born. So that's another reason I was against that. I always thought it's easy. Why punish your domestic producer when we have this border, and we supposedly have we can keep track of rubber dog crap made in China, so we make them put it on their rubber dog crap. So how come we can't make them put it on any kind of meat coming in this country? You buy a DeWalt drill nowadays, it says assembled in the USA from Global Components. If we import animals from Canada or Mexico, they're a product of the USA and Mexico, or a product of the USA and Canada. I'm not against importing beef or pork, or well, maybe I don't know about pork or poultry. But on the thing about the beef is, almost all of our beef is really high quality. I mean, we supply the steakhouses of the world with high quality beef. So we kind of need the lower quality beef to fill to fill a market that our beef necessarily can't. Like, for instance, Golden Corral steak buffet. I bet you're not getting really high quality beef at places like that. So maybe, but we need to tell people where it's from. I mean, if it's Brazilian beef, if it's Australian beef, why do they sue us when we make them put that on the label? Are they that ashamed of their product? I mean, maybe put ads with Brazilian carnival gals on there and say Brazilian beef or something, you know, or maybe an Australian sitting there telling us how good Australian beef is. Compete with us. I mean, you can on price, but compete with us. Make the American consumer think that your beef isn't that bad. I don't know. I know that when they put the burden on the American cattle producer, it made me feel like my cattle were guilty until proven innocent. Until I could prove that they came from where they came from, they wouldn't get the USA beef sticker. Well, that's wrong. I mean, and then there's not a burden on the cattle that are imported. You have to prove, if their cattle marketed the way they're marketed right now. No, the only cattle that don't have this document trail are the domestic cattle. If there's not a document trail attached to that animal or that box of beef, it's simple. That's domestic beef. If there is the documentation coming along with that beef, then that's the foreign beef. So why? I just never made any sense why we needed to burden American producers with that. And like I've heard, well, like I said earlier, NCBA and KLA is really against 5014. Of course, I don't know. Of course, like I've said about the NCBA before, they're very beholden to the packer, and I'm sure KLA is too. I don't know as much about the KLA, even though I am a Kansan, but they're saying stuff like it's going to really hurt the industry and stuff like that. Well, it's going to change the industry. It might make the industry a little more uncertain. And these are big, fat organizations, and just like fat cattle, they don't like moving. They don't like being jostled. They get cranky. Hell, I'm a fat man, and I don't like getting jostled around or getting moved, made to do things I don't want to do, or don't know what's going to happen. So, but they're kind of killing us with the death of 1,000 cuts, it feels like. I don't know. So anyhow, that's just some of my thoughts this morning. I'm sure I forgot some of what I wanted to say that I'll remember immediately after I stop the video, but I can't remember them now. I appreciate everyone who's watching. I even appreciate my trolls. Even though it hadn't been too many. But I suppose, thanks for watching the farm show, and like and subscribe. Have a great morning. Bye-bye, and avoid the shingles if you can.